He wasn't supposed to survive this mission. No armor, no heavy guns, no way to fight back. Just wood. And behind him, metal fighters were closing in. Fast. Any second now, this should have been over. But something strange happened. They didn't catch him. They couldn't. In fact, they started falling behind. A bomber outrunning fighters. That doesn't make sense. Because in a sky ruled by steel, wood was supposed to burn. So how did a wooden aircraft, built in furniture factories, start doing the impossible? And why did the military almost reject it, right before it changed the rules of war? Because this wasn't just engineering, it was a gamble that looked like a mistake, until it started winning. The year is 1940. The World War II is escalating fast. The skies are no longer empty. They're crowded, violent, unforgiving. Every new aircraft follows the same idea. More armor, more guns, more weight. Because survival meant one thing: take the hit and keep flying. That was the rule. And no one questioned it. Until one man did. His name was Jeffrey de Havilland. And what he suggested sounded reckless. Not better armor, not bigger weapons. The exact opposite. Strip everything down. Remove the guns, remove the weight, even remove the metal. Build it from wood. At first it sounded like a joke. A wooden warplane? In the most advanced air war the world had ever seen, it didn't just sound risky, it sounded suicidal. Because wood meant fragile. One hit, fire, gone. So the idea was pushed aside, ignored, almost buried. But this is where things changed. Because de Havilland wasn't trying to build a stronger aircraft. He was trying to build one that didn't need to fight at all. Think about it. Every armored plane had a weakness: weight. And weight slows you down. So what if survival didn't come from resisting attacks, but from never being there long enough to get hit? Not stronger, faster. That was the idea. And it broke every rule. Eventually, against all expectations, the project was approved. Barely. And what happened next looked nothing like a military operation. Because the aircraft wasn't built in heavy factories, it was built in places that had never seen war before. Furniture workshops, wood mills, piano factories. Craftsmen, not soldiers, working with materials meant for homes, not battlefields. And piece by piece, they created something unexpected: the de Havilland Mosquito. At first glance, it didn't look dangerous. Smooth, clean, almost elegant. But under that wooden skin was a completely different philosophy. Instead of stacking metal plates, they layered wood. Balsa in the center, birch on the outside, pressed together, glued under pressure, creating a structure that was both light and incredibly strong. But here's the part no one saw coming. This wasn't just about weight. Wood behaved differently. It didn't reflect signals the same way metal did, which meant it was harder to detect. Before stealth was even a concept, this aircraft was already bending the rules, and once it took off, everything changed. Because now the theory was being tested in the worst place possible: combat. Pilots expected it to feel fragile, exposed, temporary. But the moment they pushed the throttle, that expectation disappeared. It surged forward, fast, too fast. Faster than most fighters sent to intercept it. Let that sink in. A bomber, faster than the very aircraft designed to destroy bombers. And this is where strategy shifted. Because the Mosquito didn't fly like others. It didn't need formation protection. Didn't rely on defensive firepower. Sometimes it flew alone, straight into enemy territory. No backup, no safety net, just speed, precision, and timing. It would arrive before radar fully reacted, strike before defenses aligned, and disappear before anyone could respond. No drawn-out battle, no warning, just impact and silence. But what happened next was something no one expected. Pilots started asking for it. Not the heavily armored aircraft, not the ones with more guns, the wooden one. Because it gave them something rare in war: control. They weren't waiting to be attacked. They were deciding when the fight even began. And more importantly, when it ended. Mission after mission, the results spoke louder than theory. Low losses, high success rates, and a reputation that kept growing. But there was one operation that pushed everything to the edge. A prison in occupied France. Inside, resistance fighters, scheduled for execution. Time was running out. A rescue on the ground? Impossible. Too guarded, too risky, too late. So they chose something else. Something insane. Use the mosquito. The plan wasn't to destroy the prison. It was to surgically break it open, which meant one thing: precision beyond anything attempted before. The pilots flew low, extremely low. So low, they weren't just under radar. They were under expectation. Rooftops, power lines, trees, every second was a risk. One mistake, and it was over. They reached the target. No warning, no buildup, just a sudden strike. Explosions, not to destroy, but to open. Walls cracked, guard towers hit, chaos inside. And then, movement, prisoners escaping, confusion everywhere. It worked. Not perfectly, but enough. And that was the moment everything changed, because now it was undeniable. A wooden aircraft had just done something metal couldn't. So how did it actually work? Not the idea, the reality. Two powerful engines, a lightweight frame, no unnecessary weight. That combination created one critical advantage: power-to-weight ratio. It had more power than its structure demanded, which meant faster acceleration, faster climb, higher top speed. And then there was drag. The smooth wooden surface reduced resistance. Less drag, more speed. And without heavy gun turrets slowing it down, it stayed agile, responsive, unpredictable. It didn't absorb damage. It avoided it entirely. And this is where the deeper truth reveals itself. The mosquito wasn't just faster. It changed how war in the air was fought. Because instead of overpowering the enemy, it outthought them. But here's the twist. Even after all of this, many still underestimated it. Because it didn't look powerful. No massive armor. No overwhelming firepower. No intimidating presence. Just wood. And maybe that's why it worked so well. Because no one expected it to. And that's the part that lingers. In a world obsessed with strength, this aircraft chose speed. In a war defined by firepower, it chose precision. And in a sky filled with machines built to fight, it chose not to be caught. So maybe this story isn't really about a plane. It's about a mindset. Because sometimes, the most dangerous idea isn't the strongest one. It's the one everyone else ignores. The one that looks weak. The one that doesn't make sense until it's already too fast to stop. And somewhere in that sky, while heavier machines struggled to survive, a wooden aircraft kept flying through it all, untouched. Not because it could take a hit, but because it made sure it never had to.